State your name and tell me a little bit about yourself.
William E. Plunkett, middle name Eric. I grew up in upstate New York in a fairly small town of about 17,000 people, Oswego, New York. It's right on Lake Ontario. River runs through the middle of the city, dividing east and west. I have two sisters and two brothers. My father graduated from the university in Oswego, was a teacher first, and then we lived in Oswego, and we moved to the suburbs of Albany, New York. He took a position with the Treasury Department working in internal security. He did that for a few years, and then we moved to Washington, D.C., where he was with the Bureau of Diplomatic Security. So we moved quite a bit, and I think over the course of my life, I've moved probably 10 times. So my father worked for the Diplomatic Security Service. We lived in Maryland. He drove into Washington, D.C. every day, and he decided that wasn't for him, and he took a position with the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms of the Treasury Department in Syracuse, New York, and we moved back to Oswego, where I was born. I attended the Catholic high school in the city, graduated, and my grades, I was in the top third of my class. I applied to a few universities and wasn't not accepted. There's a university in my hometown. They will automatically take residents. But I decided to go to a community college, Mohawk Valley Community College in Utica, New York, and majored in criminal justice. After the 2 years there, I did really well. I went back to Oswego, New York, and went to the university and graduated with a bachelor's degree in public justice. My father worked in the office, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms office in Syracuse, New York, and the FBI office was next to his, and one day he brought home the FBI application. Once I graduated from college, I had taken a number of exams in law enforcement. I had done an internship with the Sheriff's Department and realized that maybe that wasn't the avenue I wanted to go in. So I took a lot of examinations with, I took the New York State Police exam, the Border Patrol exam, other federal examinations to try to get a law enforcement position. I filled out the FBI application, I submitted it, and originally was going to be sent to Washington, D.C. as a clerk. That's what they called them then. Now they call them support or professional staff. And somehow that got changed, and I ended up in Albany, New York. It's 3 hours from where I'm from. I spent 3 years in Albany, and I had various jobs, positions, duties, working the FBI radio, answering the telephone, burning the confidential trash, just any number of filing. Back then they had the paper files. Now everything's computerized. They may still have some small files because there's things you can't put into the computer that obviously is material. And while I was in Albany, I went to school nights and took some accounting classes. I think I had like 25 hours of accounting, and a position came open in Syracuse, which is about 40 miles from Oswego, my hometown, and I was moved to Syracuse in the accounting position, and now I think it's called financial analyst. It was a lateral transfer. I didn't get a promotion. And while there, I was only there about a year. I took the written exam for the FBI, had my interview in Boston, 3-panel interview, where they ask you any number of questions about your background, and then passed the oral exam and was sent to Quantico.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So, you said you used to burn the confidential trash. I like the way you phrase that. I also like how you say they moved everything to the digital sphere. It is kind of hard to incinerate a cloud, though, so I do imagine they keep some of those papers on file. So your career in law enforcement sounds hereditary, with your father being a law enforcement agent or officer himself. Sounds like you strolled with purpose rather than stumbling into it, which was going to be my follow-up question. So let me hit you with the third question I was going to ask. What would you recommend for an aspiring criminal justice major?
I think I would tell them that it's a great degree to get if that's where your interests lie. But I would also try to dual major, whether it's in computers or a language or English or something else, just to give you more, the word I'm thinking of, just to give you a better background. Because there's a lot of people that have, you got to kind of set yourself apart. So getting a criminal justice degree and then becoming a police officer, that's great. That's a great experience. They love hiring police officers, people that have been in law enforcement, or go the military route. But I think the first thing, it's got to be something you really enjoy, and if that's what you enjoy, well, that's fine. Go, but try to broaden, I guess that's the word, broaden your sphere of education and your experiences.
Okay. If you could recommend a specific dual major for a criminal justice student, what would it be?
Probably in the cyber area. Or I guess another one would be intelligence, national security majors. I know after 9/11 they became more prevalent. Those two, but it's anything. I mean, you could have a degree in biology or chemistry and then have the work experience. The law enforcement, federal law enforcement is always interested in anyone with those types of degrees, a scientific or even math, computers. Besides the Federal Bureau of Investigation, there's all kinds of other agencies besides alcohol, tobacco, and firearms, Drug Enforcement Administration, ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, Border Patrol, and a lot of them need people that have gone on to law school as well, and have an analytical cyber background as well. Anyway.
So anyone from a STEM graduate to a Juris Doctorate would find a place in Quantico.
That's right.
Okay.
We had teachers. I remember we had someone that I worked with that had a music degree.
Interesting. Do you care to elaborate on that?
I mean, people that had been actors. I know there's one professional football player who, after he finished with the NFL, he wanted to be a special agent with the FBI, and his name escapes me. But so I think there's room for anyone that, depending on, of course, they have their priorities. Law, accounting, various sciences, languages, whether it be Arabic. Someone recently mentioned, and I'm sure it's online, their priorities as far as language. Just fortunate to have been an FBI agent, very fortunate. I mean, there's a lot of people that wanted that position and still do. I would always, I'd be out doing whatever, and I'd see people in their jobs, and I'd think, I don't really want to do that. I'm very fortunate that I have the job, that I had at the time, and so it's and I always thought I worked for the American public and should give the best effort I possibly could, because that's what they're paying me for.
So in addition to an academic pedigree, a spirit of service will aid someone in this line of work?
I think so. At least I hope so. It did with me. I was always very, proud of the fact that, and I think even today, even with the issues they have, people, they're still, you mentioned FBI, everybody has something they think about or, you know, find interesting about it.
Yeah.
With my first book, it was an FBI agent that was killed in the line of duty, and they had forgotten about him locally in the Cincinnati office, and I just wanted to know what happened. The 3 books that I've done are all about the early FBI of the 1930s, and while you may know what happened in the beginning and you may know what happened in the end, you don't know what happened in the middle. You don't have all the facts about it. And that's what with my first book, I wanted to find out what actually happened to the agent and all the details about the shootout that the agent was in. And the second and third books are just an extension of the first book because the agent that was killed is in the second book and the third book. And to me, they're just cases, not that evolved into a book. Originally, with the first story, I was going to do a screenplay, but decided to go the book route. And I remember I'm in a golf league on Monday nights, and one of the FBI employees that was on the squad I was on, and he's still with the FBI, and I said to him, I said, who's going to care about something that happened 80 years ago? And his reply was, the story needs to be told. And so that got me thinking, okay, well, I'm going to move forward. And I contacted the local bookstore in Cincinnati that sell used books and asked about publishers, and they gave me the name of a publisher. And then I moved forward and with the first book. And it was such a great feeling to actually hold something that you made in your hand when I got it. I still obviously remember that feeling. So hopefully that answers what. So it's not that I really had an aspiration to be a writer. I mean, I struggled with FBI paperwork, as you might imagine, everything you do. In the FBI, it's all about talking to people and writing it up. And I think it's still that today. I mean, there's a lot of other things that would help you in the position, but at its basic, that's what it's all about.
Thank you, sir.